Hey, baseball way of lifers, how we all doing? What a weekend of baseball, huh? Yes, it indeed was crazy. It ended with the Mets-Phillies game. What a thriller that was, an 8-7 thriller. Looked like the Phillies might have tied it up, but thanks to instant replay, Reese Hopkins' home run was not a home run. The Mets hung on tough. Their bats came alive. It seemed like everyone they were concerned about, McNeil, Conforto, Smith, started hitting the ball. The only one still struggling on that team is Francisco Lindor, but I think the antidote for the Mets was going down to CBP, where they've always hit well, and they kind of broke out yesterday. And for the first time, they had 2 games in a row. They scored five or more runs in a row, and that's a good thing for them. But it's been crazy in the National League East. No one's really taking the bull by the horns, and it's really tight. Was it just 2 games separate everybody? So it's going to be a dogfight to the end, I think, in that division. Washington and Mets are tied for first technically with 500 records, and the Marlins are last, only 2.5 games out. But if it's like the Met-Phillies series this weekend, National League East is going to be a fun watch for sure. Fun watch. What else is going on, you might say? Well, I think it's time to maybe reveal the power rankings. And despite everything that's going on with the Dodgers, they still have to be the number one team in baseball. I mean, what depth on that team, the pitching, the hitting, everything. And despite their struggles, where it seems like they just couldn't hit, they were batting 185 as a team over a 13-game stretch, scoring 3.4 runs a game. And injury bug has crept up on them a little bit. They're still the best team in baseball. I'm sorry. Don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. I know Padre fans might be a little upset. Red Sox fans might be a little bit upset. But never fear. I think the Red Sox right now, if I had to rank them as far as who's the best team in baseball, would be number 2. They didn't have a great week either, and you got to keep an eye on them. They dropped 3 out of 4 to the Rangers. It was on the road. And like I always say, all these guys are professionals. You can win or lose against any team. You can't take anybody for granted. The Red Sox certainly did not do that against the Rangers. But the Red Sox still look good to me. I mean, J.D. Martinez is basically carrying that team offensively, batting 347, 431 on base percentage, and 713 slugging percentage. And that is way better than what he's doing last year, and he's leading the way. They would be my number 2 choice, and number 3 would be the Padres of San Diego. One exciting ball club that was. And when they played the Dodgers the last 2 weekends, that was baseball at its best. How often in the past, say, 10 years have we seen series that remind you of October baseball in April? So the West is going to be crazy this year, and the Giants are hanging tough. Giants, numero uno. They're a gutty ball club. They surprised everybody the last couple of years, hanging tough. And you never know. I mean, they're an older ball club, but sometimes these guys still have one good year left in them, and maybe they'll fight their way to a playoff spot. The other team that I love in the American League, everyone talks about the Yankees, but there's 2 teams in particular that I really like. It's the White Sox and the Blue Jays. And if you ask me, they may be as good as the Yankees. Now, I know Robert hurt himself yesterday. I'm not sure what the severity of that injury is. But they are so deep and stacked. And what you got to realize is not only are they good offensively, they are pitching very well. The past 9 games, they have a staff ERA 2.88, and the run differential for the 9 games is 53 to 31. They dominate. I mean, they're a good team. They just don't win. Sometimes you win these one-run games by luck. The White Sox are just a good ball club. And I know you haters out there are not going to like this, but my number 5 team would be the Houston Astros. They had a rough stretch when they lost 4 out of 5 to Seattle and Colorado. And Seattle may be improving. Colorado isn't. But when you lose 4 out of 5 to those 2 teams, it kind of raises a red flag. But since then, they're 8-3. And they're doing well. And it's going to be interesting. they're going to be playing the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. So let's see if there's going to be Bronx cheers in the Bronx this week, starting tomorrow. And guess who's going against them on Thursday? Garrett Cole. That should be fun, folks. I'll be watching that one. Working from home, wink, wink, and watching that one. And speaking of playoff games, there's always good rivalries in the NL Central. You got the Brewers and the Cubs, the Cards and the Cubs, and the Reds when they play the Cubs. They may not have the best teams in the league every year, but they really battle. There's good rivalries in that NL Central. And yesterday was a perfect example of what happens is when they start hitting the ball. And I like pitching. I like defense, but you can't always be watching 1-0 games. So when there's going to be a slugfest, you want to see a slugfest like the Reds and Cubs yesterday. I mean, it was bing, bang, boom all over the place. And I think all the theories about the dead ball may have disappeared for a few minutes there in that game. Each team had 5 home runs, and that equaled the Great American Ballpark record for home runs in a day. And when the dust settled, the Reds emerged with a 13-12 walk-off win in a 30-hit, 10-inning spectacular. And they took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. It was Nick Castellanos' 5th hit of the game, a single off closer Craig Kimbrell that scored Jesse Winker in a bomb that ended it. And Craig Kimbrell was having quite a year up to that point. Even David Ross says it felt like a playoff game, to be honest with you. Back and forth, heavyweight fight, wind blowing out in Cincinnati, and we just came up short in the end. Eugenio Suarez had his first 3-hit game, also his second multi-hit game of 2021. He had a first pitch solo homer in the third, a single in the 5th inning, a 2-out, 2-run single in the 6th to give the Reds a 9-6 lead. And Chris Bryant, he had a monster game. He had 10 total bases in the game. I've always been a fan of Chris Bryant. I thought he was kind of mishandled when he first came up, so I always rooted for him because of that. I wanted him to prove everybody wrong. He got screwed a year, extra year's pay by holding them back. So I've always rooted for Chris for some reason. And I like it when the Cubs do well. I think it's good for baseball. So combined with homers by Rizzo, Baez, the Cubs had 5 blasts in the game. Just a good game. Amir Garrett returned to the mound after his words towards Rizzo and Baez. That sparked the bench clearing incident. Garrett struck out Hayward, intentionally walked Horner, and struck out Troy Walters. And this time he kept a low profile. He didn't gesture or yell anything to the Cubs hitters this time, although he admitted to hearing some talk coming from the visiting dugout, and who can blame the Cubs for that? He said, none of that even phases me. What happened yesterday is what happened yesterday. I just had to go in there and get the job done for my team. I couldn't be worried about anyone else or whatever. I heard them talking a little bit over there. I didn't let it faze me. I just had one job to do, and today we got it done, and we got the win. It was funny because it got to the point where even Jake Arrieta had to grab a bat. His 39 players played in the game. But it was a fun game. Fun game. Even Troy Walters attempted a delayed steal at home in the 2nd inning. It was initially called safe, but following replay review, Walters was deemed out. So we had a little bit of everything in that game. It's always good in that rivalry to see the Reds and the Cubs in that division. It's going to be tough one. The Cubs are still at the bottom, 12-16. They're 5 out, so they're fighting. Reds are 13-14, 2.5 out, and the Brew Crew is in the lead, 17-11, and St. Louis 16-12. So Pittsburgh's probably going to fall back. They're 12-15, just a half game out of last. I'll go out on a limb and pick Pittsburgh last in that division, but anything else can happen there. And it looks like the Dodger bats woke up. Yesterday wasn't the usual crew. No siree bomb, but they did win 16-4. They dropped the first 3 games and against the Brew Crew, and that bolstered the Brew Crew's confidence without a doubt. But yesterday they gave a little glimmer of hope that the Dodgers are ready to turn the corner. But it wasn't the usual guys who actually got the big hits for the Dodgers yesterday. It was small ball, very small ball. Matt Beattie hit infield grounder with a base load and 2 outs in the 1st inning. Bettinger, who was making his first start ever for the Brewers, so tough, such a tough loss for him. And he was about an inch off the bag while covering first base, and he could have got out of the inning if the call was made at first and he touched the bag. But run scored, and A.J. Pollock came up with the bases still loaded. And sure enough, Pollock drove a 1-1 slider 425 feet into center field for a second career grand slam. So that hurt. That hurt. And then Beatty got another chance with the bases loaded the following inning. He hit the ball quite a bit farther, knocking a first pitch slider just over the wall in right field for his first career grand slam. And that marked the fourth time in franchise history Dodgers hit 2 grand slams in one game. Most recently was Sean Green and Adrian Beltre doing so, 21st, 2000. So it was crazy. When it was over, Pollock had driven in 8 runs and Beatty 7. Those aren't the guys you think are going to be the big guns for the Dodgers. So watch out once everybody gets rolling. Beatty and Pollock were the number 6 and 7 hitters yesterday. And Gavin Lux got the other RBI, and he was batting 8th in the lineup. So 6, 7, and 8 with all the RBIs. How often do you see that? Not too often. But it happened yesterday. Dodgers woke up. They didn't get a 4-game sweep. Now, that would have been something if the Brewers would have swept them in 4 games, wouldn't have? Now, the other big news of the day was Corey Kluber came back. He looked like the old Corey Kluber. His thing was just throw the ball a little bit softer yesterday. Threw a lot of changeups, and it looks like, he's reinventing himself, and he hurled 8 dominant innings, so that's good that he's a pitcher. He's just not a thrower, and he can adapt, and that could be a good sign for the Yankees if he stays healthy. And he got his 100th career win, and it was a good one, a really, really good one. Higashioka and Gardner drove in runs for Kluber's effort, and the Yankees swept the Tigers. Now, I know the Tigers aren't the beast of the American League, but like I said, never take anybody lightly, so give credit where credit is due. Tigers now 8-21, but the Yankees are back up at 500, and that's big for the Yankees. They could be making their moves. That Astros series is going to be so fun. I can't wait to see that one. That'll be the real test because the Yankees played the Tigers and Orioles this year. I'm not taking anything away from either team, but it'll be fun playing a good team and see if the Yankees are back on the beam. Kwuber had his 47th 10-strikeout game, his first since 2018. But he was amazing. He just scattered 2 hits and struck out 10 with a walk. Very, very good. And Detroit had a great effort from Jose Urena. He just gave up 2 runs over 7 innings, but tough loss. But it looks like the Yankees could be back. They got the remedy they wanted. They were playing at home against Detroit, swept them, went down to Baltimore, split that series. But so altogether, 5 out of their last 7, good week for them. And just like it was a good week for them, it was a great day yesterday for Max Scherzer. I think he pitched a 5-hit gem in 9 innings in 2 hours and 37 minutes because he had other plans after the game. Yes, sir. His wife Erica went into labor with their 3rd child. So Jan Gomes said after the game we talked a little bit, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm having the baby tonight. Might as well pitch like that." So there may be some truth to the joke here. He pitched a complete game with fewer than 100 pitches yesterday. Finished with 9 strikeouts, 5 hits, no walks, facing 31 batters, just 4 above the minimum. He needed only 106 pitches, 76 strikes to deliver the Nats to their 4th straight win. So I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I thought he threw less than 100 pitches yesterday. I was wrong. But the crowd was loving it. And that's his 12th complete game in his 14-year career. It's tied with Dallas Keuchel for the 12th most among active pitchers. Remember when complete games, guys throw like 30 complete games a year? Those days are gone. But it's good to see Max. I love Max. He's the ultimate competitor. And the Nats needed that one too. Nats are hanging tough. Tied for 1st. So big win for Max. Congrats, Max, on the baby. Hope all is well. And it's always fun when you hear stories like that. It's one of the beauties of baseball, one of the side stories. Now, a lot of injury updates here. Shohei Ohtani was plunked with a ball yesterday. And that's going to be the danger with Shohei. But he stayed in the game and even stole 2 bases immediately after. But Joe Madden could not guarantee that he would pitch anything. Probably not pitch Tuesday or pitch Tuesday, couldn't guarantee it. I personally would not pitch Shohei on Tuesday and let him rest it up and skip a start. You don't want to take any chances. He is the money man. Him and Mike Trout. Oh my God, those two guys are mints for the Angels. What marketing tools and what great ambassadors for the game. You don't want to see him get hurt by pitching when he shouldn't have. But it's not my call. It's up to Joe Madden and Shohei. It looks like Joe Madden's letting him run the roost there. He's going to put Ohtani out there as much as he can instead of baby him. And I don't blame him, but maybe this time you just got to proceed with a little caution. The thing I saw yesterday was Louis Robert had to be helped off the field after suffering a right hip flexor strain while legging out an infield single. X-rays were negative on Robert for the White Sox, and will be reevaluated during Monday's off day. Can only hope for the best. And then the other one was George Springer went out of the game yesterday, and there was all kind of worries there. He was playing his he just came back from the DL, and he's been playing every day, and I think he was just beat, exhausted, dehydrated. I'm not sure what the official explanation was, but hopefully he's back. But that does scare me. He just said he was fatigued. He was another dimension to the serious contenders with him in the lineup. Jesus Luzardo was placed on a 10-day injury list with a left-hand fracture on Sunday. We're living in this age. Here was the cause of the injury, according to Boston. Luzardo bumped his hand on a desk while playing video games before his start on Saturday, but he warmed up and felt good enough to pitch. But still, he ended up on the DL. And then Ian Happ was hurt yesterday. A lot of injuries for the Cubs. Peterson was back at the alternate site. He's on the 10-day injured reserve list. And Dustin May was placed on the 10-day injured reserve list with a right arm injury. It looked scary when it happened. He got a shooting sensation in his elbow pitching the other day. He says it's still sore. Too. What a fun guy he is when he's pitching. Character and fun to the game. So those were the highlights basically from yesterday. We'll give you the standings here now. Boston is first on top of the AL East, 17-12 record. Blue Jays sniffing right behind them, a game and a half at 14-12. Kansas City, top of the Central, 16-10. White Sox are 15-12. White Sox would qualify for one of the wild cards right now. Oakland is 17-12, top of the AL West. Seattle is 16-13, one game out. And we got a virtual tie not virtual. Washington's 12-12 because they have more wins. They actually get credit for being in first place, but they're tied with the Mets, who have an 11 record for first place. Milwaukee is 17-11, winning the Central. St. Louis is 16-12, one game out. They would qualify for a wild card. And we have San Francisco top the NL West, 17-11. Dodgers 17-12. They would qualify for a wild card in the National League. What we're going to do is every day we'll spotlight the leaders, either division leaders, individual leaders, etc. That's what you guys have been asking for. So I hope you enjoyed this YouTube cast. If you do, please like. If you want to, please subscribe. Be greatly appreciated. Leave comments in the comment field. And if you ever need to email me, you can email me at philstan41@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching. And don't forget, be part of the greatest, if you're not already, and I think most of you guys are, be part of the greatest baseball book on Facebook, Baseball Way of Life. We'll be glad to have you if you're not a member. And that's it for today. We'll touch base again tomorrow. Thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate it.